conferences, piles of flyers, getting stuck on endless email lists, never-ending calls. There's an easier way to sort through and find the best school fundraisers. School Zone Podcast proudly presents the 10 Top School Fundraising Ideas for 2017, a guide of top fundraising companies hand-picked from the best podcasts. As an added bonus, it lists 5 awesome resource companies that would add tremendous value to your school and students. A guide to 10 top fundraising companies and 5 resource companies. And we're giving the guide away for free. That's right, for free. Ready to simplify the search? Download the free guide at schoolzonepodcast.com. Welcome to School Zone School Fundraising Ideas Podcast. We interview top fundraising and resource companies to help you find a solution to your next school fundraising or school resource need. Are you ready to simplify the search? Now, here's your host, Matt Miller.
Hey, School Zone Podcast listeners, Matt coming at you from San Antonio, Texas. We are here at the Texas PTA Summer Leadership Seminar titled Launch this year, and excited to get a chance to talk to Stephanie Jones, who is responsible for new business development for Cookbook Publishers. Stephanie, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so give me a little background on you and what you guys do.
Okay, well, Cookbook Publishers has been in business since 1947. We do fundraising cookbooks. We also do them for families and individuals and for businesses and corporations who have a particular cause that they want to donate to. It's a great way to raise funds for your organization and for your cause. They're custom cookbooks, so all of the recipes come from your organization and their friends and family, and they are sent to us. We create the cookbook and then send them to the organization for a fundraiser.
So you had mentioned to me before we got started here that you've been doing this for about 20 years, correct?
I have. Cookbook Publishers have been in business since 1947, but I've actually been with the company for a little over 20 years. And if you want to go back a little bit further than that, I was actually one of the ladies who typed the recipes in my home for many years before I started in the office at Cookbook Publishers. So it's almost Cookbook Publishers are my life. You know?
So can you tell me maybe what your favorite recipe of all time has been?
Oh my gosh, no, because there are so many. It goes in cycles. So, one year it was the flag cake and, the 4-layer dessert, but they really go in cycles. And it's funny because you'll see the same recipes from New Jersey that you see in California because they're favorite recipes. So that's why they're so popular in the cookbooks.
So is there like a trademark or a copyright on a recipe?
No, recipes themselves can't be copyrighted. There are a few recipe titles that have a trademark, so we try to avoid those, but recipes themselves are not copyrightable.
So then, let's say a school that comes by here in the next couple of days gets excited about your program. How would they go about working with you guys to actually, bring that compendium of recipes together so that you guys could do your magic?
We have a free cookbook information kit, and I'd be happy to give information to anyone here at the show today, or it can be requested from our website at cookbookpublishers.com. There's no obligation when you request the kit. The kit's completely free, but it has all the materials in there that you need to create your cookbook. The recipes can either come to us to do the typesetting for you. We've been doing it for a long, long time. Or you can create an account online with our You Type It Online software. There's no charge for that. It helps in the respect that your cookbooks arrive a little bit sooner, and you can also save a little bit of money if you do the typing yourself. We don't charge for the typing, but we do have the other option available for those who like to have a little bit more control over the recipes.
So do you find, or have you guys measured, as far as the type of recipe, whether it be an entree or a dessert, or is there anything that tends to find their way into the cookbooks more often, or is it just completely across the board?
It's across the board, but the desserts category is always going to be the biggest one. Vegetables is probably going to be the smallest one, but it's just a compilation of all of the recipes that are the favorites from the organization and their families.
So how do you guys see all of this? You've been around for 20 years doing this. How has things changed during that period of time, and how have you guys adapted to some of those technological changes and that type of thing?
Well, one of them is with our free online software, the UType-It software. That has been a big bonus for us because we know that a lot of times people don't want to bother with having to gather all the recipes together and, organize them and send them to us. If they create an account online, then they can have a password for everyone to use as a group, and then the parents can just type in their own recipe. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of the committee in obtaining those recipes, but the chairperson and the co-chair, the members of the committee, still have control over the way those recipes are going to look in the cookbook.
Have you guys ever encouraged or sponsored events, to where, okay, we're going to roll out the availability of this cookbook, let's do a potluck or something, and let's...
Yes, that's actually a very good way to launch your cookbook sales, and we do encourage our customers to do that. Another good idea for them is to obtain sponsorships for their cookbook. So they can either have an organization or a business within their community sponsor their cookbook, which would pay for the cookbook entirely or up to the full price of the cookbook, and then every book they sell is 100% profit. They can also obtain advertising from local merchants, so every ad that they sell for the cookbook reduces their cost per book. We've had customers who actually pay for the cookbook through advertising sales.
Wow, that's cool.
It really is. It's an easy project because there are so many different ways to launch that cookbook and promote it that it's a win-win for everybody.
Now, have you guys ventured into the app space or anything like that as far as accessibility online or anything?
No, we've not done that yet. We've looked at it, but we find that our customers really like having that actual product in their hand. It's something they can touch and feel. We know that there are recipes available online. In fact, a lot of the recipes that they contribute to the cookbook are probably ones that they found online, and that's perfectly fine since they're not trademarked or copyrighted. But there's just something special about having that cookbook in your hand and having those memories that go with it for years to come.
Yeah, I can relate back, big time in my life. We still have some of the cookbooks that Grandma, used,
Absolutely.
and some of my
Absolutely.
favorite recipes are still there. And, we still have a shelf for some of our favorites, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so that's really, really cool. Who would you say is kind of your ideal client at this event? Or is there really one at all?
It's a good project for schools of all sizes for an organization like this because our minimum order is just 100 books. So if you look at the fact that everyone who contributes a recipe typically buys 3 books, 1 to keep and 2 to give away. And then some ladies I was talking to a while ago, she said, oh yeah, well I would want one for myself, my mother-in-law, my mother, and I said, don't forget your kids because they're going to want one when they get older. Oh yeah. So all of a sudden her market is starting to grow. So it's really, I think they're surprised sometimes at how quickly 100 books will sell. We can do cookbooks for organizations with thousands of members, and I've actually done some that have ordered 5,000 books at a time, or 10,000 books at a time, and then come back 6 months later and order again. So it's all in the way that you promote them and get the word out about them, and that's what we're here to help you do.
So what does an average cookbook cost? Is it based on the number of recipes, I assume, or how does that work?
It's based on the number of recipes and the number of books. So the more books you order, obviously the less your per book price is going to be. It might be $3.05 per book for 1,000 books and 200 recipes, and don't quote me on that because that may not be exactly right, but then the suggested selling price is going to be around $10 per book. So you've got a really good profit margin there.
Yeah, I spent a bunch of time in printing in my earlier life, and what most people don't realize, I don't think, is that the economies of scale in printing, the setups and all that stuff are the same, whether you print 100
Exactly.
or whether you print 100,000.
Exactly.
So the more that you're able to move, the less expensive printing is, and it can have a marked difference
It absolutely, and another thing to point out is that we don't charge anything up front for our organizations. They have 37 days after the book shipped to pay half of their invoice, and then another 30 days after that to pay the balance. So a total of 67 days after the book shipped to pay your invoice in full.
Wow. That's cool. That's
Thank you.
cool. I love being here, and I love having an opportunity to do this because I think we've probably seen each other for the last 9 years at at these shows and have never had a chance to talk.
I know. It's really fun to be here.
Very cool. Stephanie, any last parting words at all that you'd like to leave with the School Zone podcast audience?
Just that with us having been in business for so long, we're here to stay. And we're here to help our organizations every step of the way. If you have a question, if you aren't sure how to proceed with your cookbook, just call our 800 number, which is 800-227-7282. Or you can reach us online. We have live chat available during all of our business hours, and you can send us an email, and we'll get back with you just as soon as our office opens again if it's after business hours. But really, we want your cookbook to succeed. So that's what we're about, is helping you to raise the most funds that you can with an exceptional product.
And guys, I'll tell you what, it's neat, the innovation and the different opportunities that there are. If you're kind of sick of doing some of the same things you've done all over, over and over and over again, man, Stephanie and what they're doing would be a great fit, I think, for you. And, what's really cool, and she didn't mention this, but I will, I think all of the recipes are 0 calorie because if you look at Stephanie, she looks incredible for having access to all of these recipes.
Thank you.
For 20 years. So not only can you raise money, but you can eat. No, I'm kidding about the calorie thing. But
oh, that's okay. If you break a cookie before you eat it, you have fewer calories.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go. From an expert of 20 years, Stephanie Jones. Stephanie, thanks for being here and taking time out of your schedule today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the School Zone's School Fundraising Ideas Podcast and for simplifying the search. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. When you do, please leave us a 5-star review in iTunes or your podcast player of choice. Have a company you'd like Matt to feature on the School Zone podcast? Have a fundraising question you'd love to get answered? Send a voice message to Matt. We would love to hear from you. Visit schoolzonepodcast.com and click on the Ask Matt a Question button on the bottom right of the page. Simply record, listen, and send. It's that easy. Ask Matt a Question on schoolzonepodcast.com.